Welcome to another video by Study Funda. Today we'll be taking up the day 1 testing of the SSB interview. In the day 1 testing, we'll be focusing on the picture perception and discussion test. First of all, let me tell you what are the tests that are conducted on the day 1 of testing. On day 1 of testing, the first test that is conducted is the verbal and non-verbal reasoning. This is generally taken up to test your officer intelligence rating. After this particular test, the next test that is conducted is the picture perception and discussion test, broadly known as PP&DT. So this is the screening stage, stage 1, and we see that there are two tests, PP&DT and officer intelligence rating. Now how this particular test happens? After the conduction of the OIR test, we have the PP&DT test. Under the PP&DT test, it is of two parts. The first part is picture perception and the second test is discussion test. In the picture perception, a picture is shown on the screen for a duration of 30 seconds. After that, 1 minute is given to fill certain details into the PP sheet, and after that another 4 minutes are given to write the story based on the same. After that, a discussion test is conducted. Under this discussion test, every candidate is supposed to narrate the story that he has written based on the picture shown, and after that, a discussion is conducted among the candidates to come out with a single group story. Now let us see all these aspects individually. Let us assume that this is the picture that is shown on the screen. Now how to observe the picture? That forms the first and foremost important part. As this picture is much more clear, but in SSB you will come across a very hazy picture. But the major important things to be observed in the picture are the background first of all. Here we can see that the background is certainly not an urban one, it is somewhere a rural background. After that, as in the rural background, you can see that the main important features of the picture are river, bridge, certain vegetation is also available in this picture. Now observe the characters that are present in the picture. The characters that you can see over here are, there are two females and there are two males who are sitting near a tree, and one male is jumping into the river. So this will give you a brief idea about what the picture is. So as now you have got a brief idea about what the picture is, and in these 30 seconds, I would also recommend that you must also think of what story you are supposed to write on this picture. Now, the art of story writing requires a lot of practice. You can, as I have mentioned, that observe picture from left to right, see the background, see the characters. With the help of this, you will get a brief idea about what kind of story you're supposed to write. Like in this picture, you can write story based on construction of a bridge, or if you have to write another story, it can be this particular boy is jumping in the river. They have come for a swimming expedition, and you can also mention that this is a normal place where they come out for group study, and this particular boy suddenly falls into the river, and one of those boys, he goes to rescue him. Now this is how you're supposed to observe the picture, and by looking at the background and looking at the important features of the picture shown, you can definitely write a good story. So in 30 seconds, observe the picture, decide what the theme of the story would be, and then the next 1 minute, let us see what has to be done. Now in the PP sheet, the PP sheet will be of such kind. On this particular sheet, as you can see, this is the character box in which you're supposed to enter the details of the character. This is the action. Action means what is currently happening in the picture, and this is the space that is given for writing the story. The PP sheet is a bit bigger than this one, so these are the main features of the PP sheet. Now as far as filling the details of this box is concerned, it will be in the same manner. Now depending on the instructions, you're supposed to fill the details. Like the general instructions that are given are, write the number of characters that you have seen in the picture, write the details in the character box. So this particular candidate has seen 3 characters. Now the details are to be written in the form the gender first, then the age, and then the mood of the character. Like gender is male, female, and P for person. The age is written in number, and the mood. This plus sign stands for positive, this O sign stands for neutral, and minus sign stands for negative mood. The central character has to be encircled in this manner. Now, in the case of action, you are supposed to write what is currently happening in the picture according to you. This particular portion is given to write the story. Although, if your story extends, you can also use the backside of the sheet to continue your story. Now, as far as the character box is concerned, there are two instructions given: either to write the the character details according to the position of the character as seen in the picture, or you can mention the details anywhere. Now, PPC details, I have already mentioned this. You can again take a look at it. The character details have to be written in this form, and the action depicts what is going on in this in the story according to you. Now, after writing the story in the picture perception sheet, now you move to the discussion test. I will be explaining how to write the story in the video that will be based on the psychology testing. Now, when a candidate goes to the discussion test, in this discussion test, there is a first very important test, that is the narration test. In the narration test, you are supposed to narrate the story that has been written. Now, according to me, I feel that if the instructions are not given that you have to address anyone or not, you must always address everyone. That shows your gentlemanly etiquettes. So the first part of narration would become addressing anyone. Before moving to this particular part of narration, after the picture perception, a break will be given to you. After that, you will be divided into certain groups ranging from 15 to 20 candidates in a single group, and after that, you go for the discussion test. Now, in this particular short duration in the break, you must practice narrating your story. Now, how to narrate your story? I will be explaining in this narration tips. So, first of all, address everyone. Wish according to the time. If the instructions are not given that you aren't supposed to address everyone. The next thing is you have to mention your character details. Now, by this I mean that mention details of individual character. Don't mention that I saw three characters whose two were female and one was male. This is giving a hazy picture, but you are given sufficient time to mention each and every detail. It can be like this: good morning, respected sir, ma'am, and all my dear friends. Based on the picture shown, I have perceived there are three characters in my story. The main important character of my story is Rahul. He is a male who is 22 years old. The other character is Seema, and so on. You can mention the details like this. Next is start with your story. Now, when you start with your story, you have to divide your story into certain blocks during the break that you get after the picture perception test. Now, in this particular break, divide your story into certain sections, like what what led to the situation, what is currently going on, and what is the future outcome. Or you can make your blocks according to your own self, like the blocks you used to make while you were studying during your school days or your college days. Divide your story into certain blocks. Sit over there and just explain those blocks. It will become very easy for you to explain those blocks, and it will also become very easy for the rest of the people to understand what you are saying. After completing your narration, say thank you. Now, how the narration takes place. You are made to sit in a semicircular fashion. In this semicircular fashion, generally the sitting takes place from left to right. On the left side, the candidate with the lowest chest number sits, and on the right side, the candidate with the higher chest number sits. And in this particular room, there are three officers: the interviewing officer, the GTO, and the psychologist. In the center, you will find the interviewing officer. On his right, you will find the GTO, and on his left, on your right and your left, on your left, you will find the psychologist. The positions may also change depending on the scenario, but generally the interviewing officer sits in the middle. So your focus should be on narration, and this is how you're supposed to do your narration. But when everybody else is also doing the narration, you're supposed to focus on them. You have to you have to also act as a patient listener and an effective speaker, and not just speak effectively but do not listen to what others are saying, because their narration, understanding their narration, would help you in involving yourself into the group discussion. Now let us take a look at the group discussion tips. So after the last candidate ends his narration, automatically the group discussion would start. Now, what is the aim of the group discussion? To come out with a group story. So your first aim should be the group should be making a story and not yourself being able to push your story to be the group story. Secondly, you must respect everyone in the group and not just forcefully dominate in the group. Respecting everyone, by that I mean respecting their views. If somebody has to add something, or if he is even showing disagreement to your, it is better to give a right reason and convince him rather than fighting it out yourself. Always give a chance to others to speak and not just merely be the one who is continuously speaking. Give reasons so that the group accepts your story as a group story. Even if they don't, it does not matter. Whosoever story you feel should be the appropriate one for the group story, you must put your points ahead and you must add on certain points to his story, and that will help you involve yourself into the group discussion. Next important aspect is never blame anyone or never cut down anyone. Like, do not just be like, no, you should not speak, or let me speak, let me speak. Do not just do that. And there's a very common sentence used in the PPDT group discussion, that is, gentlemen, let us speak one by one. Please do not use such phrases because they are not adding anything to the group story. They're just responsible. These sentences are just responsible for your non-recommendation in this particular phase and not your recommendation. After group has now definitely there will be a very chaos which happens generally in the discussion test. So the interviewing officer or the GTO, they divide this particular group into two parts. So in this you will get more opportunities to speak. After that, at the end, one is supposed to give out the group story. If there is no one speaking in the group to group, you can even volunteer, but with the group's permission. Only with the permission of the group, you must give out the group story. Otherwise, if you have involved yourself well in the group discussion, the group is bound to select you. Now, according to me, I feel that your narration actually will create an impact on the assessors as well as on the other candidates sitting around you. If you are good at narrating your story, then definitely you will come up getting recommended in stage 1. Another important point is that whether Hindi can be used as a language, definitely it can be used as a language, but only when you hold strong communication skills in Hindi. Because you might find there are certain candidates who belong to the southern parts of a country and they might not understand that language. That is why English is generally kept as a language of discussion. Another myth that I would like to say is not appropriate, which is only the discussion test matters for your recommendation. Gentlemen, I would like to say that there are 8 recommendations required in this particular phase of testing. You will find you will get one recommendation in your intelligence test. You will get another recommendation in your picture perception, that is checked by the psychologist. You will get 3 recommendations by 3 officers in your narration, and you will get another 3 recommendations by the discussion that you have done. We'll soon be coming up with a material based on the comprehensive discussion over this complete PPDT process and the psychology one, which will be launching in a subsequent videos. If you have any doubts regarding this particular procedure or you want certain doubts to be clarified, you can definitely mention them in the comment section. Jai Hind.